Imagine humiliating someone in front of your entire office, only to find out the next day that they just became your boss. That's exactly what happened to Sarah Mitchell. And what she did next will blow your mind. This is a story about karma, humility, and one of the most expensive mistakes anyone has ever made in corporate America. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the person you underestimate today might be signing your paycheck tomorrow. And trust me, the twist in this story is something you won't see coming. It was a regular Tuesday morning at Hartwell Industries, a mid-sized tech company in Seattle. The office was buzzing with the usual energy. Coffee machines humming, keyboards clicking, and employees rushing to their morning meetings. Sarah Mitchell was one of the company's top sales executives. She had just closed a massive deal worth $2 million and was riding high on her success. She walked through the office like she owned the place, designer heels clicking against the marble floor, expensive handbag swinging from her shoulder. That's when she saw him. James Patterson. He was pushing a cleaning cart down the hallway, wearing a simple gray uniform with a name tag that read, Maintenance. Sarah had seen him around before, always cleaning the conference rooms after meetings or emptying trash bins in the break room. To her, he was just part of the background, invisible, unimportant. But that morning, James accidentally bumped his cart into the wall near Sarah's office, making a loud noise that interrupted her phone call with a client. She pulled the phone away from her ear, her face twisted in annoyance. She stormed out of her office and marched right up to James. "Excuse me, do you mind?" she snapped, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Some of us are actually doing important work here. If you can't push a cart without making a scene, maybe you should find a job you're actually qualified for." The office went quiet. People stopped typing. Conversations died mid-sentence. Everyone turned to watch. James looked at her calmly, no anger in his eyes, just a quiet acceptance of the situation. He nodded slowly and said, "I apologize. I'll be more careful." But Sarah wasn't done. She was on a roll now, feeding off the attention. "You know what? While you're at it, my office could use a good cleaning. The trash hasn't been emptied in 2 days. I don't know what we're paying you people for, but it's clearly too much." A few people gasped. Others looked away, embarrassed for James. One of Sarah's colleagues, Tom, quietly pulled her aside and whispered, "Sarah, come on. That's not cool." She brushed him off with a wave of her hand. "What? I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. We have standards here." James simply picked up the trash bin from her office, emptied it into his cart, and walked away without another word. Sarah went back to her call like nothing happened, completely unaware that she had just made the biggest mistake of her career. Here's what Sarah didn't know. James Patterson wasn't just a janitor. 3 months earlier, he had sold his software company for $470 million. That's not a typo. $470 million. He was a self-made tech entrepreneur who had built his business from his college dorm room and turned it into one of the fastest-growing startups in the Pacific Northwest. After the sale, he was exhausted, burned out from years of 80-hour work weeks, constant pressure, and the weight of managing hundreds of employees. So James did something unusual. He decided to take a break from the corporate world, but not in the way most millionaires do. He didn't buy a yacht or travel to private islands. Instead, he wanted to understand business from a completely different perspective. He wanted to see how companies really worked from the ground up, from the inside where nobody was putting on a show for the boss. He took a job as a maintenance worker under a fake name at Hartwell Industries, a company he had been quietly researching for a potential acquisition. For 3 months, James mopped floors, cleaned bathrooms, and emptied trash cans. And during that time, he learned everything about Hartwell Industries. He saw which managers treated their teams with respect and which ones were bullies. He noticed which departments were efficient and which ones were wasting resources. He overheard conversations in break rooms about problems that never made it to the executive floor. He saw the company's culture in its rawest, most honest form. And Sarah Mitchell's behavior, he had noticed it before. She wasn't just rude to him. She was dismissive to assistants, condescending to junior staff, and only polite to people she thought could help her career. James had watched her take credit for other people's work in meetings. He had seen her throw team members under the bus to protect herself. The incident in the hallway was just the final confirmation of what he already knew. 2 days after Sarah's public humiliation of James, Hartwell Industries CEO called an emergency all-hands meeting. The email went out at 8 in the morning with no explanation, just a mandatory attendance notice. The entire company filed into the main conference hall buzzing with speculation. Rumors had been flying for weeks about financial troubles, possible layoffs, maybe even a company sale. Sarah sat in the third row, scrolling through her phone, barely paying attention as the CEO walked onto the stage. Then he said something that made her look up. "I want to introduce you all to someone special. Our company has been acquired, and I'd like you to meet your new owner and CEO." The room erupted in whispers. Sarah's heart started racing. An acquisition? Would she lose her job? Would her commission still get paid? Then James Patterson walked onto the stage. But he wasn't wearing a gray maintenance uniform. He was wearing a tailored navy suit, crisp white shirt, and the kind of confidence that comes from being worth $500 million. Sarah's face went white. Her phone slipped from her hands and clattered to the floor. Around her, other employees, who had witnessed the hallway incident, exchanged shocked glances. James took the microphone and smiled at the crowd. "Good morning, everyone. My name is James Patterson, and as of yesterday, I'm the majority owner of Hartwell Industries. Some of you might recognize me from the past few months. I've been working here in maintenance, and I want to thank you all for the education you've given me." The room was dead silent. You could hear people breathing. James continued, "I didn't take that job to spy on anyone or play tricks. I did it because I believe that to truly understand a company, you need to see it from every level. And what I've learned has been incredibly valuable. I've seen incredible talent in this organization. I've seen people who come in early and stay late because they genuinely care about their work. I've seen acts of kindness, teamwork, and integrity that never get recognized in performance reviews." He paused, his eyes scanning the crowd. "But I've also seen behavior that has no place in any company I own. I've seen how some people treat those they consider beneath them, how they speak to people when they think nobody important is watching." Sarah felt like she was going to throw up. Every eye in the room was on her now. People weren't even trying to be subtle about it. James didn't call her out by name. He didn't have to. Moving forward, this company will operate on one simple principle. How you treat people matters, not just clients or executives, or people who can help your career. Everyone. The person who cleans your office, the intern who brings you coffee, the IT guy who fixes your computer. Character isn't what you show during a presentation. It's what you show when you think nobody's looking. Over the next few weeks, James restructured the entire company. He promoted people based on merit and character, not just sales numbers. Several executives were let go, including 2 VPs who had a history of toxic behavior. And Sarah? She was called into James's office on her 3rd day under new management. She walked in prepared to be fired. Instead, James offered her a choice. "You're good at your job, Sarah. Your sales numbers prove that. But your numbers don't give you permission to treat people poorly. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to be demoted. You'll spend the next 6 months working in different departments, including 3 weeks in maintenance. You'll learn every role in this company from the ground up. You'll understand what it's like to be on the receiving end of the attitude you've been giving. If after 6 months you've shown genuine growth and changed behavior, we'll talk about your future here. If not, you're done." Sarah was humiliated, angry, and embarrassed. But she was also smart enough to know she didn't have many options. Word had already spread in the industry about what happened. If she quit, she'd be walking away with a reputation as the woman who mocked her future boss. So she took the deal. And something unexpected happened. During those 6 months, Sarah actually changed. She worked alongside people she had previously ignored. She heard their stories, learned about their struggles, and realized that job titles don't determine someone's worth. The administrative assistant she had been short with was supporting 3 kids as a single mom. The IT guy she had snapped at was working 2 jobs to pay for his sister's medical bills. The maintenance team she had looked down on included a former engineer who chose the job for work-life balance after a heart attack. By the end of her 6 months, Sarah had become a different person. Not perfect, but aware, humble, real. James reinstated her to a sales position, though not her old executive role. She had to earn that back, and she did over the next 2 years through consistent hard work and genuine change. The story of what happened at Hartwell Industries spread like wildfire on social media. Business publications wrote articles about James's undercover experiment. Some praised it as brilliant. Others called it manipulative. But everyone agreed on one thing. It sent a powerful message about workplace culture and how we treat people. Here's the lesson that most people miss from this story. James didn't buy Hartwell Industries to teach Sarah a lesson. He bought it because he saw potential. And he was willing to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into that potential. Sarah's behavior was just a symptom of a larger cultural problem. A problem that exists in companies everywhere. We create hierarchies and then we use those hierarchies to justify treating people differently, based on their position rather than their humanity. Studies back this up. Research from Georgetown University found that 98% of workers report experiencing rude behavior at work, and nearly 99% have witnessed it. But here's the kicker. That same research showed that customers are less likely to buy from companies where they witness employees being treated poorly. Rudeness doesn't just hurt morale, it literally costs money. James understood something that most executives forget. Company culture isn't built in mission statements or team-building retreats. It's built in the thousands of tiny interactions that happen every single day. How a manager speaks to an employee who made a mistake. How a senior team member treats a new hire. How an executive acknowledges the person who cleans their office. The janitor you mock today might not become your boss tomorrow, but they're still a human being deserving of basic respect. And the way you treat people when you think it doesn't matter, that's when it matters most. 3 years after the acquisition, Hartwell Industries had doubled in revenue and was named one of the best places to work in the region. Sarah was back in an executive role, leading a team with a completely different leadership style than before. And James? He eventually stepped back from daily operations but remained chairman of the board, continuing his practice of occasionally working entry-level positions in companies he invested in. The maintenance uniform he wore that day? He had it framed in his office with a simple plaque underneath that read, "Character is who you are when nobody's watching." If this story taught you something, there's another video coming up next that'll show you 3 more times karma caught up with people in the most unexpected ways.